And welcome back to America Talks Live. I'm Bill Tucker, filling in for Steve Malzberg, who has the day off. Rejoining me now on panel number 2 is Barrett Holmes Pitner, columnist at the Daily Beast and at the Guardian. And now we welcome in Stacy Washington, host of Stacy on the Right. And make sure you check out stacyontheright.com. Stacy, nice to have you with us, joining the conversation.
Hello.
Barrett and I left to break talking about the prospect of some bipartisanship. Barrett, understandably, is kind of keeping his powder dry. He's a little doubtful that we might have some. I am just a naturally skeptical guy on these kinds of things. I hope we have it. I don't know if we're going to get it. But what do you think, Stacy? The conversation came out of the idea that what Trump really is more than anything else is a pragmatist, meaning he is a guy who ran for office to get some things done, and he has a record, in fact, of getting things done, but in business, not in politics. So what do you say? Do you think that the President Trump will be different from the candidate Trump, in that we actually might be able to start moving forward and getting some things done during this administration?
Well, I think if we're talking about getting things done in the vein of correcting foreign policy missteps that have been made by the Obama administration and the repeal and replacement of Obamacare with true health care reform, then absolutely. I do think that President-elect Trump has kind of veered off into the weeds with this continual drumbeat on infrastructure spending. It sounds a lot like the boondoggle that opened up the Obama administration, where they wasted multiple hundreds of billions of dollars on shovel-ready jobs that never materialized. So Americans are wary of that. I have to remind the Republicans in Washington that the Tea Party and the current movement of populism that's sweeping this country is not driven by a desire to have Washington run everything. It's driven by a desire to see Washington pull back, the EPA pull back, the Department of Education pull back, let Americans run their own lives, and let the federal government get about the business of taking care of the national defense, securing the border, taking care of our foreign policy aims, and getting along with our allies and keeping a peaceful America, protecting us from terrorism. Those are federal jobs and duties. Americans don't need help on who can use the bathroom with who, what our education system should look like, whether or not we're allowed to participate in free choice, how much tax we pay on the local level, the continual drumbeat to send more money to Washington so they can reapportion it back to the states. All of these things are interesting discussions that are going to be had over the next few months as he transitions into the presidency. But Trump also has an opportunity here. If he really is going to be in the middle of the road and be a different kind of president as a businessman and reach across the aisle and have some bipartisanship, he has to be willing to be the same strong individual he was on the campaign trail, which was someone who didn't care about political correctness or whether or not he was always agreed with. He made his mind up. He knew what the people wanted, and we want to see more of that.
Yeah, and I don't have an argument that you have to have a starting point. I don't disagree with any of what you said, as a matter of fact, in terms of what he wants to get done, because he has made it clear on the campaign trail that he's going to do that. Barrett, Stacy's right in reminding us that, Trump has got an agenda. But my question has to go to, can he get that done as a starting point to try and make changes in Washington, D.C.?
Yeah, who knows? Like, frankly, throughout the campaign, we've been waiting for like a different version of Trump, like a more presidential Trump, a better at this Trump, a better at that Trump. And we just got the same person time and time again. And it looks like, a lot of Americans just wanted that same person. So now we're looking for a President Trump who's completely different than a presidential looking Trump, and whether he can be a pragmatist and work across the aisle and get down to like the nitty gritty of passing legislation and all sorts of stuff that he hasn't shown like a propensity to be able to do before. Only time will tell, but we've been waiting for Trump to be a different person for 15 months thus far, and we've gotten the same guy. So I hope that we get someone better than who I've seen, but I'm not expecting it.
Stacy?
So first of all, presidents don't pass legislation. That's Congress. And second of all, I don't need him to be any different than he already is. He's a lot like people that I know here in St. Louis. He's real. He changes his mind a lot. He's successful. He has a track record. He holds others accountable. He is held accountable. Is he perfect? Far from it. He's actually not the ideal candidate, except that he is the ideal person for this time in American history when we were presented with a rank criminal, professional liar, power hungry, hater of all good things, Hillary Clinton, and then Donald Trump. So now we have this election is over. We have the president running around the world trying to clean up the mess that is the Democratic Party right now, where they can't even accept the fact that this election was a repudiation of the hardcore march to the left that we just experienced for 7 years. Americans are hurting. Towns have been decimated. We need to rethink some of these previously widely accepted bipartisan ideas like our trade policy. So those are things that I can honestly say I think Donald Trump will do very well at. Some of the other issues are going to be very thorny, as they would for any president. So he's going to have a really huge road to try to hoe and get through over the next 4 years. But the idea of him doing it is so much more hopeful and so many more possibilities than if it had been Hillary Clinton.
You know, a lot has been made about this issue of his temperament. I, over the years, have worked for some people who had some pretty bad temperaments. I'm still here. I'm still walking around, and I'm still arguing with people. Barrett, do you think that we're making too much about temperament, or do you think it's an appropriate discussion to have?
I think it's an appropriate discussion to have because the temperament that the president has is what is projected to the rest of America and the world. And thus far, like throughout the campaign, Trump's temperament has kind of been all over the map, and he's prone to like Twitter outbursts. He even had one the other day directed towards the New York Times, and this just doesn't seem to be how you should project the mindset, the temperament of the President of the United States. I think for a lot of Americans, it's quite troubling, and they would like to see something that's a bit more pragmatic and controlled. And so Trump clearly needs to make some improvements in that regard. And I can see how a lot of people on the right are really happy about Donald Trump, but we've been talking about bridging divides this entire time, and there are a lot of people on the left. More people voted for Hillary Clinton than voted for Donald Trump. So if we're looking to unite America, there's going to be some compromises, and temperament, less Twitter storms, I think would be a very good step in the right direction.
Well, first of all, let's just be honest here. Half of us voted for one and half of us voted for the other.
The
distinction in terms of popular vote is very, very small, especially given the size of the country, which is another amazing
Right,
feat.
so if it's 50-50, there should be some compromise.
Well, it was 50-50 last time.
Temperamental compromises would make sense.
Did we? Didn't President Obama say to the Republicans, elections have consequences, I won? Didn't he tell us that we'd have to change, that there was no room for reaching around because he won? He's the president now, and his policy and agendas would be what moved us forward. I find it interesting that you're so obsessed with the idea of
Republicans say that Obama should be a one-term president in 2008? It's the same difference.
You don't interrupt. It's rude, first of all, and it also shows because I'm assuming that you're white, and I think I'm black, and you're interrupting me.
No, actually, Stacy, that would be a wrong assumption, Stacy, as a matter of fact.
I can't see him, so I don't know what the deal is.
Yeah.
I don't understand why he's interrupting. So let me finish my thought. If that's okay with you, maybe you're a sexist. I'm just using the language you understand since you're a liberal. Look, the idea that we now all of a sudden have to start singing the Kumbaya dance because the liberals lost is ridiculous. We have policy aims and things we mean to push through. We have a huge cleanup job from the Obama administration, and that's what we're going to do. If you want to join in, you're welcome to come to the table with good ideas that are based in policy, not your feelings, not your safety pins, not your need to stroke these social programs, and we can get some stuff done. But if you're not interested in that, if you're interested in talking about Donald Trump's Twitter account, which, by the way, if you're interested in seeing how liberals think about people who aren't like them, just check my Twitter feed, where I'm regularly called a coon and an Uncle Tom and all kinds of other horrible things just because I'm a Republican. If you're not concerned about those slurs against me, then you shouldn't be concerned about Donald Trump having a little fun on Twitter every now and again. Because if you like his Twitter account or not.
Rather than me speaking for Barrett, I think I need to give Barrett the floor to respond to you, Stacy. So let Barrett, please. We only have like a minute left, but you've got the floor, buddy.
Yeah, real quick. Essentially, okay, thank you. Since Trump elected, a week ago, we've been talking about the need to bridge divides. Obama's been talking about it. Trump's been talking about it. So now we're having a conversation on what things people should like to do. Clearly, Obama had mandates when he won in 2012. And in 2008, like I tried to say, the Republicans said they were hell-bent on making him a one-term president. These are divisions that we don't need to emphasize. And if we pick and choose one side versus the other, we're going to do the same thing over and over again. I think if we're having a conversation about temperament, one thing that we should talk about is the president's temperament with his Twitter. That's just a basic thing. Social media is really important. This sends messages out to people all across the world.
No, let Barrett
But-
finish, because we don't have much time left in the block. Barrett, go ahead, please.
Yeah, and so, like, essentially, if we're talking about temperament and what we think the president should do to appeal to a broad section of Americans that extends beyond just his base, he could decide.
That's
to
and
appeal
Barrett, I'm
only to his base if he wants.
going to leave
That's
it
his
at
choice.
just his base, because I'm sorry, I've got to cut both of you off now. Thank you, Stacy. Thank you, Barrett. Now we got to ask ourselves, what does the Trump presidency mean for illegal immigration and border security? INS Special Agent Michael Cutler will be here to answer that.